Welcome to Real Talk with Bobby G, the voice of New York. On episode 9 of Real Talk with Bobby G, we will be discussing the recent guilty verdict of R. Kelly 5 days ago on Monday, September 27th, 2021. R. Kelly was found guilty of racketeering, sexual exploitation of a child, kidnapping, bribery, sex trafficking, and a violation of the Mann Act. After getting off a childography trial back in '08, Kelly has been one of the most controversial superstars of this generation.
That was, I think, child pornography, I think. Is that what you were trying to say?
It's child pornography. It said childography here, but it's okay.
It's a typo. Yeah.
It's a typo. Yeah, it's a typo. That's my boy saying with me. Anyway, R. Kelly has been one of the most controversial superstars of this generation. Most either hate him or love him. In 2002, R. Kelly was indicted on 21 counts of child pornography. His 2008 trial was based on the charged files in 2002. In 2008, R. Kelly was cleared on all counts after less than a full day of deliberations. Once R. Kelly was cleared of his child pornography charges in 2008, he continues his music career and to be celebrated and work with some of the top music industry artists. Many of his fans, critics, and music industry peers didn't seem to be clear where they stood morally, as they stated they don't condone pedophilia or any type of sexual violations on minors or women, but continue to buy his music, attend his concerts, post and promote his music via social media, and collaborate with him creatively. The release of Surviving R. Kelly brought R. Kelly's demons back to the light, and this time he was faced with way more allegations, witnesses, and victims who came forth and spoke on camera about the inhumane acts that R. Kelly performed on them. In this 6-part series, the docuseries was talked about all over the social media and all on television, which helped open a new investigation that will eventually lead to the arrest and criminal conviction of the superstar. All right, so Real Talk with Bobby G. And with that being said, let me once again bring in my partner, my brother from another mother, K-Real. K-Real, welcome to Real Talk with Bobby G.
Yes, sir. It was good, Bobby.
Oh, you already know. You know, this is going to be very interesting, man. I know you saw the Surviving R. Kelly series, Part 1 and Part 2. And, I saw Part 1. Matter of fact, I did see some Part 2 as well. So this should be very good. This should be very interesting this hour here we have, talking about this whole situation with R. Kelly. So what are your first thoughts? Where should we go with this, man? How do you want to start?
Well, I seen Surviving R. Kelly when it first came out. Very, very disturbing, and, I think back on when it first happened, but I was, younger. Back in, 2002, when it came out or whatever, when he got charged or whatever. How old was I in 2002? I would have been 20 at the end of 2003. So 19, probably mostly 18 for most of the year. I turned 19 late in that year. At that age, you're not thinking about a lot of moral compass stuff. You know what I mean? You're just kind of out, smoking, drinking, or doing whatever your group of peers does, in the mix. So while we, heard about it and stuff, we just wasn't really thinking about it. So, I kind of, it happened. He was, he was found not guilty. He was acquitted, and life just kind of went on, and everybody continued to play R. Kelly, and it was like nothing really. I don't know if I want to say nothing ever happened, but most people didn't. They just didn't think about it that much. There was some, there was like media coverage of it, but I don't remember it being like how it was this time. You know what I mean? It seemed like he definitely had like more. He was like at the height of his career, and it seemed like he had more, I guess, protection, like more like people that was trying to make sure that it didn't get too big and too out of control. Because most people,
Yes.
from what I remember, this is a long time ago, this is like 20 years ago, but from what I remember, like we was, it wasn't that blown out of proportion. Like, I don't know if I want to say blown out of proportion, but it wasn't like that, it wasn't blown up like that. Like, it was like, all right, we heard about it, let's see what happens, oh, he's not guilty, all right, what else is going on? So we just kind of went on with it. Life went on, we continued to play R. Kelly when it was a song that we liked. And I think for a little while people thought, I ain't playing R. Kelly, but it was like so short-lived. Everybody kind of forgot about it, and life went on. So, as time passed on, you heard stories and stuff. There's a real hilarious DMX, the DMX interview where he talked about R. Kelly. That was funny, Yes, he had some serious words for R. Kelly. So yes, he wanted to slap him, But life went on. R. Kelly was still making hits, making bangers. There were other songs. And I remember sometimes playing a song like, dang, part of it felt a little like, I feel like I shouldn't be supporting them. But I like this song. So, and we kind of stopped talking about it and stuff. And it just kind of, it's almost like it went away. Like we kind of knew about it. But, see, I never watched the tape. I never saw the sex tape. So I didn't get that full experience of, oh, my goodness, look at what this man is doing to this young girl.
Yeah, I never saw it either.
I only heard about it through the grapevine.
Right. Yeah, I heard about it. I never saw the actual video tape of that. Right. The one that what's the comedian Dave Chappelle made a a
skit about on the Chappelle show
on that. Right. He did a video about the whole urination thing. And man, it was just at the time a lot of people thought it was just hilarious on the fact that he was clowning R. Kelly. But at the same time, while he was clowning R. Kelly, it was still looking, it was kind of like not respectful to the women involved in that. So it was kind of like you clowning R. Kelly, but at the same time you're making fun of R. Kelly, but meantime it was
of victims.
To the victims, right? It was like, wow, how do you look at that? And for me, it was just like, when I thought about it, I was like, nah, this isn't really, this isn't good. This isn't good. The video wasn't good for him to make a funny video. And this is not to come down on Dave Chappelle. I don't think he realized what he was doing. He was just capitalizing on that topic, that's what people do, what anybody does in the game, any actor, any comedian. They use major topics to use in their content, So, but at the same time, like I said, at first I laughed like, wow, but at the same time, I just felt like it wasn't good for the woman involved to see something like that. Hopefully to know, or just to know that something like that was put out there, for everyone to laugh at. Because it was not, it wasn't a joke. It was nothing to laugh at. So that's how I felt about that. After I did laugh, like I said, I didn't laugh when I first saw it. But when I thought about it, I was like, nah, it's not cool. So now I do like Dave Chappelle as a comedian, but then for that,
I think a lot of us are guilty. I mean, even older people that were already older, I think a lot of people are guilty of like kind of sweeping it under the rug because it's R. Kelly. Had that been somebody in our neighborhoods, you know, everybody's like, you know, everybody despises the convicted sex offender in the neighborhood. When they go on the website and they see who it is, it's always a lot of scrutiny. You know, he's always frowned upon, looked down on. You know what I mean? But because it's R. Kelly, the famous superstar, it's like people kind of swept it under the rug. I think we learned a lot. Like now, to where we are now, we have these movements like Me Too and, you know, other movements, you know what I mean, that that really put this type of behavior front and center for everybody to see, and it changes things because now people pay attention, they hear these stories, you know, and then the release of Surviving R. Kelly definitely changed everything because it was the first time that we all got to hear detailed stories from multiple victims of R. Kelly. And, you know, you couldn't help but feel, if you have any type of compassion and human decency in you, you couldn't help but feel a way about hearing those stories. And, you know, I think that changed the game for sure. That's what brought the charges. That's how key that was. There was, from our understanding, there was no investigation or nothing before the outcry from the public after the release of Surviving R. Kelly. So, yeah, Bobby, what you think?
Yeah, I agree. And then also, I think that what played a part in it was that movement, that female, what's that, Me Too, something like that, Me Too movement. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Me Too.
Yeah,
Me Too.
Right.
Me Too. Me Too.
Yeah, that played a part too. It definitely played a part. People were starting to, you know, because it's, you know, after he got off the first time off the video with him.
And don't forget Time's Up movement too. Time's Up movement too as well.
Time's Up movement. Okay, so there was a couple of movements that was, you know, going against R. Kelly and having events and stuff against what he did, rightfully so. And he was just wrong. You know, he took a celebrity status and then took it to, and then get this, on top of that, he calls himself, I never knew what the Pied Piper was. Like, I heard of it as a kid, but I never knew the story. Now, once I found out the story because of this whole situation, I said, you know what, let me see what the Pied Piper is all about. And you know what the Pied Piper is about? I don't know have you heard of the Pied Piper story? Like the story, like the original. Oh, you know about it.
Well, I only found out about it because of the whole R. Kelly thing.
That's how I found out, because of R. Kelly. I said, let me see why. Because I noticed I never thought much of it when he's called himself the Pied Piper. But then when I read the story and then I see what's going on with him and these young girls, I put two and two together. I said, oh, this is why he called himself the Pied Piper. And he did it in people's face. Like he did it like openly, like, I'm the Pied Piper. Like he calls himself the Pied Piper. A guy who musically enchanted the youth and then they followed him, and he was able to do what he wanted with the youth. That was when I found out that story about that, I was like, wow, you gotta be kidding me. You know, wow, he really did that.
What do you think about that whole thing with Aaliyah? R. Kelly with Aaliyah?
That whole thing was sad. It was sad. He definitely, took advantage of that whole situation. Working with her as far as musically and everything, but also to he was such a manipulative guy when it came to younger women. He knew how to tell them what they want to hear. He knew what they liked. He knew how to impress a young girl. Something that he probably couldn't do with an older woman, a grown woman. But it's so crazy.
Oh, he did. No, you can't say that though. He did. Remember,
I can't
there
say
was
that
some
because
grown women too.
He has been with grown women.
There was some grown women.
Right.
Yeah, he's a celebrity, so yeah.
Yeah, he is a celebrity, so he can get with pretty much any woman, young or old, and that's what it was. He didn't care. He didn't care about age. He just saw once the body was developing or developed, he saw body parts, develop. He didn't care about the age. He just saw what he saw. That's why. As soon as he sees development, breasts, butt, whatever he saw, sexy, young, a young, fresh young lady, I guess he looked at it as that's what he did. That's what he cared about. He didn't care about age and all that, which was crazy because there are so many women out here, like in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and even beyond that look great. That will put some of these young girls to shame physically, like literally. Like these days, they are out there like that. So what's the problem? You know what I mean? When a young girl, all you see is possibly just sex. But then what happens after sex? And see, that's another thing. It was easy for him to control and manipulate them and make them, he gave them a certain lifestyle that they probably wouldn't get at home. He even mentally screwed some of them not to go back, not to even talk to their family members at home. Like he took their phones. One girl he spit on, like he hit one girl, probably most of the women. He got into this other dark side of who he was, like that manipulative side. And a lot of these women just rolled with it because he was R. Kelly. They looked at the lifestyle, living in these fancy Trump towers and all this stuff. They just settled. I'm not going to say settled, they just like dealt with it because of, I think, the lifestyle and being with somebody like R. Kelly. And meanwhile, disrespecting the family members and not contacting them, and just he was controlling them. A lot of them was probably scared, and they just didn't want it. And then there's a word, like when a person is so scared that they fall in love with the abuser, like, or so dominated by the abuser they fall in love with them. There's a word for that. I can't think of the word right now, but some of them were probably going through that. It's some type of syndrome. Stockholm syndrome. Right. Look up Stockholm syndrome. That's what it is. That's something called the Stockholm syndrome. That if you look that up, I believe a lot of the women were going through that he dealt with. And also, with the situation, there's another word that describes the type of person R. Kelly is. To me, R. Kelly was a person who really hated women. He was narcissistic, but he was also, there's another word. He was a misogynist, right? He was a misogynist at all levels. Because to do what he did to that young lady and then videotape it, that's misogynistic type of behavior. Urinating in a girl's face or mouth on it, that means you just couldn't care less about her. But where did he get that? What part of sex? First of all, you having sex with a minor. And second of all, what is enticing? What does urinating have to do with sex? Like, there's nothing there's no turn on there sexually. Like, who wants to piss on somebody or wants somebody to piss on them? Urinate. That's just, to me, that's misogynistic. That's so you hating the woman and you disrespecting her on video, like cheating ish. You know what I'm saying? Like, this F this it, this bitch, this D. That's it's like, oh, now you want to do me because I'm so and so. So now I'm gonna show people who you are, piss in your face. You know what I mean? See, that's terrible. And then to do that to that's terrible. You're disrespecting a black woman. Your mother is possibly a black woman who gave you birth, but then you're gonna take another black woman, another black woman's daughter, and do that to another black man's daughter. So that's just totally disrespectful. totally disrespectful. So, man, that's sick. That's beyond, it's just sick, man. Terrible. But anyway, with that being said, man, bottom line is, please, guys, first of all, man, hey, man, you got to pray, man. These days it's getting crazy. I pray to show love to your family, show love to God. Make sure you know where your kids are. Make sure your kids let you know where they are. When they are minor, they're supposed to let you know where they are. If you call them, and find out and ask them where they are, they're supposed to tell you. They're under your watch. So make sure you know where your children are at all times. So these days it's just getting crazy. When you got older guys preying on your daughter, you got to really watch that. So anyway, with that being said, look out for new content on YouTube every Sunday. I'll be on It's Real Talk Radio with K Will every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. To listen online, go to itsrealtalkradio.com. To listen by phone, call 563-999-3434 at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dial 1 if you want to speak. This week's topic is the why and who is behind censorship and propaganda. Hold up, sorry, no, that was last week.
No, that's old. That's old.
I'm sorry. No, this week's topic for this Tuesday show is: are you pro-life or pro-choice? Very interesting topic. This is going to be a good one. Are you pro-life or pro-choice? And you can also reach me at BobbyGRealTalk@gmail.com. I'll be releasing the content on YouTube every Sunday. And with that being said, this is Real Talk with Bobby G, the voice of New York, signing off. Peace.